keep moving forward. Right. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Ballabha Girivardhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Jasoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana. Jasoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana. Jamunatira Vanachari. Jamunatira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Jashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana. Jasoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana. Jamunatira Vanachari. Jamunatira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Sri Sri Radha Madhava ki, Sri Sri Radha Damodar ki jai, Sri Sri Radha Giridhari ki jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajaka Jarja Shodhara Shri Srimad His Divine Grace. Vai Charanaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajaka Jarja Shodhara Shri Srimad His Divine Grace. Shri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Samveda Bhakti ki jai. Go Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories assembled devotees. All glories assembled devotees. All glories, Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Are we missing anyone in action? Or inaction? Everyone's accounted for. Like Vijamani, is he cooking breakfast? And how about the illustrious Tyler? To LA. What's happening in LA that we missed? Okay. Who are they? Tyler and? Oh, good. Mukunda? He's in the Rajbhog. Jai. Very nice. Okay. Okay. So, reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam. This is the 7th canto, 2nd chapter, text 23. Hiranyakasipu is giving Bhagavatam class today. He's preaching a storm, preaching up a storm. Yeah. It's like you said yesterday, he's trying to appease the children and widow of Hiranyaka. Listen, someone said recently, I brought it up in class, telling someone, heard that it's quite, I think it was the last class I gave. Yes, and I told the story about Mr. Schwartz. Okay, but how no one says anything bad at a funeral, you know? You try to, everything's nice and everything. They went to heaven, everything's okay. And then, of course, here's the spirit soul. But he's just a politician, you know? He's expert at appeasing people. Like that, make everyone feel good. Politicians are good; they just make everyone feel good, like that. So, but in his heart, it comes out at the end. He can't control himself. I won't let that verse out of the bag right now. But just at the end, he kind of lets loose his real feelings about the whole thing. Okay, so here we go. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay. Yathambasa Prachalata Taravo Api Chala Iva Chakshusha Brahmyamanina Drishyate Chalativa Buhu Yatavamsa Prachalata Taravopi Chala Iva Chakshusha Brahmyamanina Drishyate Chalati Vabuhu Yatam Vasa Prachalata Taravopi Chalaiva Chakshusha Brahmyamanina Drishyate Chalati Vabu Yatambasa Prachalata Taravopi Chalaiva Chakshusha Brahmyamanena Drishyate Chalati Vabu. Anyone else?
Yathambasha Prachalata Taravo Api Chalaiva Chakshusha brahmyanena Drishyate chalati vibhu.
A little bit. Someone must have been very thirsty yesterday. Was it you? Or is it from the day before you gave class? Did you drinketh from this cup? Yesterday's class, did you drink from that cup? So it's from the day before. Who's class? Yoga's. Okay. Just asking. Synonyms. Yata, just as. Ambasa, by water. Pachalata, moving. Taravaha, the trees on the bank of the river. Api, also. Chalaha, moving. Eva, as if. Chakshusha, by the eye. Brahmyamanina, moving. Drishyate, is seen. Chalati, moving. Eva, as if. Bhu, the ground. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Because of the movements of the water, the trees on the bank of a river, when reflected on the water, seem to move. Similarly, when the eyes move because of some mental derangement, the land appears to move also. So, purport. Sometimes, because of mental derangement, the land appears to be moving. A drunkard, for example, see them on Grand Avenue all the time, right? Or a person with heart disease, because of the blood pressure and everything, the brain, sometimes feels that the land is moving. Similarly, the reflections of trees in a flowing river also appear to move. These are the actions of Maya. Actually, the living entity does not move. Stanur achalo yam. The living entity does not take birth or accept death, but because of the transient, subtle, and gross bodies, the living entity appears to move from one place to another or be dead or gone forever. As the great Bengali Vaishnav poet Jagadananda Pandit has said in his Prema Vivarta, Pisachi Pailayena Mati Channa Hoy Maya Grashta Jivera Hoy Se Bhava Udoy. According to this statement from the Prema Vivarta, when a living entity is conditioned by material nature, he is exactly like a person haunted by a ghost. One should therefore understand the fixed position of the spirit soul and how he is carried away by the waves of material nature to different bodies and different situations under lamentation and hankering. One achieves a success of life when he understands the constitutional position of his self and is undisturbed by the conditions created by material nature. Prakute kriyamanani gunai karamani sarvasa ahankara vimuratma kartamiti manyate. Bhagavad Gita 3:27. Om Gyantimirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshurun Minitam Dinataismai Sri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadandikam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakti Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vanchakapatarubhascha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Bhavanibhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha. So by your good wishes and ardent prayers, I'll try to say a few words. It's been said that 99% of the people in this world are self-realized, that they're their body. What's the connection between the gross matter and the living entity. Your consciousness and matter. This has been a big question in physics, and Sariputta points out in one class about Descartes, the philosopher, and previously it was understood there had to be something else besides just matter, because the laws of physics just kind of, they can, obviously not all of reality is explicable. Even matter, they don't know. Just like most of matter is what they call it, dark matter. 99-something% of the 90-something% of reality, I have no idea what it is. But even what we can kind of grasp, there's got laws of physics and so on. But there's something called consciousness that has to be taken into account. But because no one can understand really what it is, there's a movement to just don't talk about it. What do they call it, like the elephant in the room? You got an elephant in your room, but no one wants to talk about it. You got to talk about it. It's an elephant, but no one wants to talk about it. So consciousness, just because we don't understand it, we just kind of like, that's just psychology. Just like they say about when you're reading something, if you come across a word you don't understand, you should look it up. You really should look it up, because if you don't understand that, it affects what's going on. So you actually should take some time to understand what you're reading. Because if you don't understand it, you just like that. So the principle is that sometimes we don't understand things and we just kind of skip over that. Skip over it. We really shouldn't skip over it. Try to understand things and really understand them, right? Just like there's that expression, did you hear me? Like, I'm going to give you an instruction. Sureshwar, can I give you an instruction? After class, come with me to the Pujari room. I have some very important papers for Carla and Bharat. Okay. Now, the proof that you heard me is what? What's the proof that you just heard what I said? You'll come with me after class. Okay. Okay. And if you go, I hear you, but you never come. You just go to eat breakfast. You didn't hear me, right? You just let it go on. It went away. So you actually didn't hear it like that. So hearing and understanding, these are very, very important things, and the proof is how we act and so on. So I got off on that tangent. But these are two examples given, wonderful examples given about understanding about consciousness and the connection. And that's our false ego. False ego is, of course, the supersoul's there. That's the real connection between spirit and matter. And the jiva's there. But what connects the jiva, who is a spiritual entity, Satchidananda, spiritual entity, with this dead matter, and brings it all, you could say, to life, and is trying to create a reality here. How's that possible? Well, yes, is that what you call an extended when you throw it out there, but you answer it? Well, you just came back. So, yeah, because I got off on a tangent. I'm sorry, I got off on a tangent. So, the connection, our understanding, is the hankara, false ego. It's a very, 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 very subtle energy, but it connects the two. And because of false ego, there's a real ego and there's a false ego. What's alter ego refer to? When someone says their alter ego, when you're a pujari? Very good. Okay, he gets the comedian of the morning. That's a very good one. So, okay, you have an alter ego and I have one too, and Balaram's got one. And okay, alter ego. Very good. Okay, you should tell that to Ganga Mantri. That's his level of joking. You know Ganga Mantri? That's a good one for him. Or Mahabharat. When you see Mahabharat, tell him. Okay. So besides that, but alter ego, right? But I know. Alter ego, what does that refer to? But consciously, like, oh, that's just alter ego, or someone's acting like. I'm not sure if it's a mental disorder or what. Okay, but I guess we do have that, right? We have an alter ego. We're Jivera Suphoy Krishnera Nichadas, eternal servants of Krishna, but in this material world, not only one alter ego, but millions. There's some famous story in the 60s about this one person who had all these different identities. And he was posing as all these different things. The true story I meant, because one of it was an airline pilot. This is back in the 60s. He actually pretended he was an airline pilot. He never flew a plane, but he dressed like he got on planes and, you know, and flew all over the place and this and that and all these different things. And then he finally was caught, but he was brilliant. He had some kind of able to make all these different disguises, and he was just doing it for fun. Very interesting story, true story. But nothing compared to the jiva entering this material world. And how powerful is that false ego to connect an eternal spirit soul and make them think they're part of this material energy? Very powerful. And the mind, what does the mind do? Our best friend or our worst enemy, it makes us always, it keeps everything, what is the word? In line with our false ego. Whatever we think we are, then the mind has to keep that going. With all these different desires and accepting and rejecting and plans, and keep it going like that. And the intelligence becomes polluted, and we're simply using our intelligence for you know. So all this is going on, and it's Mama Maya, Krishna's divine energy. Daivi Esha Guna Mayi. Daivi means divine. It's way, way, way beyond the jiva. So what to do? But anyways, there's two examples given. We'll come back about what to do. The first one is about when you see, has the example of the moon in the sky gone by yet? In any verse? You know, sometimes you see a cloudy night and it looks like the moon is moving, but it's the clouds that are moving. The moon's right there, but the clouds, because they're moving, oh, it looks like the moon's moving. Here's another example. You have reflection, like a tree or something on the bank of a river, and because the water is moving and shimmering, or whatever the word is, a little rustling because of the wind, it appears that the tree, but it's not moving at all. And the other one is the residents of Pacific Beach. When they walk down Grand Avenue, inebriated, or something like that, you see them. I sit there at chant japa, especially in the summer when it's warmer. You got all these people walking back and forth from the beach like this on the sidewalk. Like that. I'm praying they don't walk into my car. In fact, one time I had that happen. I was parked, sitting in my car, and this person was so inebriated, because you never know what they're on these days. You can't say drunk anymore, right? Inebriated. He was walking behind. I saw him coming up out in the street. Every single car, he was trying his key in it, because he couldn't remember what car was his. So my windows are all down, I'm chanting japa, and he comes to my car and starts the key, and I go, Hare Krishna! And he goes, ah! And he goes to the next car. He wasn't expecting to see a devotee in a car that he thought it was his, but he was so inebriated he couldn't even remember what car was his. And you're going from vans and all these cars, and he's just going to the next car, next car. So it's an unfortunate situation, but people like that, or says probably there's a heart problem, the blood pressure, all of a sudden the ground seems like it's moving. It's not moving. It's due to some derangement. You think it's moving, but it's not moving. Just like when you're little kids, you spin around. Or sometimes in kirtans. That's why older devotees, they don't spin around too much, because that's what happens to us. Like that. So you spin around, all of a sudden you stand there, and the whole temple is going around, and Hare Krishna. So, but the ground's not moving. It's not moving at all. But due to some condition of the mind, you think it's moving. So in the exact same way, the soul thinks he's a product of this material world, but he's not. Those are the examples given, just to help us try to understand the concept. The stanur achaloyam, living entity, does not move, in the sense he doesn't move with the material energy. He's completely transcendental. But due to false ego, the conditioned mind and intelligence, one is convinced that they're part of this modes of material nature, particular identity, and so on. And it's a great illusion, as you were saying yesterday in class. It's the big illusion, like that. And Jagadananda Pandit, I didn't have a chance to grab my Prema Vivarta to look this up. Now, do you know more about this? What is it in a collection of a few different verses about the same thing? Do you know off the top of your head? But Prabhupada quotes this quite often. about one who's in the grasp of Maya, the Jivera, Pisachi Paile. That means exactly like a person haunted by a ghost. Do you believe in ghosts?
Well, it says in the Shastras.
Nah, forget the Shastras. Do you believe in ghosts? I mean, even before coming here, do you ever think there could be these?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, there's some ghosts. I mean, there's enough out there, and it's not just Casper. There's a lot of stuff, Just like my parents live in an old farmhouse built in 1850-something in Western Massachusetts. And Annabelle is her name. Was the last, it was built by the senator of Massachusetts back in 18-something. They have a picture of him on the front porch after he built his house. And the last living direct line descendant, her name was Annabelle. I went and found her grave up the street, one of those graveyards and so on like that. And my parents moved in, and she was still there, but she was very friendly, kind of friendly. But she would move things around and this and that and whatever. But that was Annabelle. I think they even saw her once or something like that. Because what it is, sometimes a ghost is a previous residence of a place, and as far as they're concerned, they're so attached, they want to stay there. And usually you get that kind of body when you die untimely or out of great fear or something, and you stay for some time, maybe 100 years or whatever. They haven't seen her recently for some time, but they've been there for 40-something years. I think they saw her once, but mostly it's just kind of like that. And my mother goes, Annabelle, cut it out. She just kind of moved things around. It was friendly like that, shut doors and... No, why? She's friendly, like that. Just friendly, like that. Well, because maybe all our visits there were chanting. She left. I don't know, but anyways. So, there are many different studies done and so on. There's something else going on. There's subtle levels of reality, and there's so many different stories that But so haunted by a ghost. That means there's that famous story of Ramanujacharya. The king, his daughter, was severely haunted by a ghost. And it was like The Exorcist, wow, all kinds of crazy stuff going on. And the head pandit in the palace, who was very envious of Ramanuja, there was something, the king asked him to try to do something, chant some mantras, this, that, and the other thing, and nothing worked, And then all of a sudden, the ghost said, bring Ramanujacharya. Like that. So, okay. I'm just getting a little dramatic here. But anyway, he said, bring me Ramanujacharya. So, exactly sound like, okay. And and he was just a boy at the time, young man, student. He wasn't maybe he wasn't even Ramanujacharya. He was, And so they brought him to the palace and so on. And they said, have him put his feet on her head. And he touched his feet on her head. And he said, I'm leaving now. And I'm going because you'll see that tree over there, the branch will break. And all of a sudden, bing! And all of a sudden, he was gone. So the king, was so thankful. Now Ramanujacharya became, the wonderful person, the king's eye in the court, pandit, just like, you're useless. So he became very envious of Ramanujacharya. But that's a story about a ghost. Like that. Just by touching his feet on her head, the ghost left. Because the ghost is a blessing. He wanted to become delivered. We're getting off on all kinds of tangents. Haunted by a ghost. Okay, I have some license here. Okay. Who would have known? I didn't plan this at all, I swear. I didn't plan. In fact, I want to end a little early to read some from the Kartik Mahatmya, some of the blessings. Less has already been done. Some blessings, what happens during Kartik and so on. So haunted. No one likes to be haunted. You ever been haunted? Has anyone here felt a ghost in their body before? Yeah, I felt it. Yeah, you get haunted like at night. Sometimes they hold you down. You get that kind of feeling? Yeah, that happens like that. So it's like, whoa, no one likes it. So, but it says here, the living entity conditioned by material nature, exactly like a person haunted by a ghost. It's completely unnatural, and it's like that. So, but at the very end here, one achieves the success of life when he understands the constitutional position of his self and is undisturbed by the conditions created by the material nature. So it's the very, very beginning of self-realization. Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma Nasochati Nakankshati. Krishna, the Prabhupada says right here, the different situations under lamentation and hankering. That's the whole material life, right? Hankering and lamenting. We want something, or if we're not wanting something, we're lamenting about something. Isn't that true? It's like the mind is, and the very same thing we want, the mind is chastising us later for wanting it. It's like, give me a break. I mean, Bhakti Chu Maharaj gave the example in one class. He said, there's these, like pakoras and the spicy chutney, and your mind is saying, Amoga, eat as much of this as you possibly can. It's so delicious. Very nice. It's like your wife's cooking, right? So good. But then later on, you get this big stomach ache because you ate so many pakoras and spicy chutney, and that same mind is saying, you're a nonsense, you overate, What kind of devotee are you? Like that, you're supposed to control your tongue. Say, wait a second, you just told me 10 minutes ago I should eat as much as I should. Now you're telling me I'm a nonsense. So this is our mind. Like that, always like that. So we have to become free. And only way we can do this is by becoming Krishna conscious. There's the only way. And that's by the mercy of Guru and Krishna, becoming Krishna conscious. So I'm going to end here just because I want a few minutes, if it's okay, to read from this book, and I don't want the class to go too long. So is there any points anyone wants to bring up about the verse and the purport, or questions or anything? It's pretty... Yes. Microphones to the left, microphones to the right.
This verse from Prema Vivarta I heard quoted in a class, and the point, it was a class by His Holiness Bhakti Vikas Swami. And the point that he mentioned in relation to this was that we want to become, so that verse is Maya Grasta. Maya Grasta is like, someone who's haunted by Maya. And the point that Maharaj made was that we want to become Krishna Grasta. We want to become haunted by Krishna. And then when you do that, you also become mad. Just like that verse, what is it? Evam, no. Vratas Vapriyanama Kirti Ajata Anurag, dancing and with no sense of, the outside world, just dancing and chanting and crying like this. So I thought it was a nice point.
Yes. Just like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the fisherman. Right. Just touched him, and he thought he was haunted by a ghost. Like that. Another ghost story. We're just lining him up for Halloween. Another ghost story. But actually he was feeling prema, but he thought he was, and Prabhupada said his main concern was he thought he was haunted by a ghost. He'd gone crazy, and who would take care of his family? Like that. And when he came down the beach like that, the devotee said, he's in ecstasy. He must know where Lord Chaitanya is. He's thinking he's haunted by a ghost and his life is ruined. And the devotee's, he's in prema bhakti. Okay, did you happen to see? Oh yes, he's down there. I caught him in the net, and I thought he was a ghost, and he touched me. And okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So regarding the false ego and the true ego, are they their own entities, or is the false ego, the true ego, covered by Maya?
Well, that's a good question. My understanding, because it's listed in the Bhagavad Gita as one of the material elements. So in and itself, it is a material element. You can call it in the sense of a covering, but it is separate from the jiva. The jiva has its own ego or sense of identity, eternal servant of Krishna. And that consciousness or awareness becomes, covered by a very, very, very subtle material element, most subtle, and that's your hankara, or false ego, and that's the beginning of material existence. Did that answer your question? It is a material energy.
Right.
The hankara.
So regarding the true ego, then
that is the soul. That's the soul's sense of its own identity. It's the real ego.
Right. Okay.
Here's a Halloween joke. Another Halloween thing. It's like today, people are going to put on all these costumes. Like that, though. Did they come by the temple at all? Many years ago, we used to have a thing of candy out there or something. But I don't know if they come by anyway. But people, walk around in all these costumes. They're coverings of their real self. It's not really them. They're not really a pumpkin or Darth Vader or, I don't know, who are they? They're skeletons and, all these things. Huh? Yeah. So, I mean, it's a covering. It's not really us. We're not that identity. Yes.
How the false ego in contact with the mode of passion produces the mind, it produces the intelligence, contact with the mode of goodness, it produces the mind, and in contact with the mode of ignorance produces all the senses and everything. So the costume is actually created by that false ego, and it manifests through the material energy, and then you're completely convinced that you're your body, no matter what body you have. Yeah. But that's fascinating. It's that false ego that really is the key. And that's why our whole business is to start acting in our real self, which is as a devotee.
And it is insurmountable, that verse in Bhagavad Gita, because we think about it, it's like, I'm never getting out. Just like sometimes you may be imprisoned or something like that. You fall into a deep, dark well, I'm never getting out of here. It's just, how am I ever getting out? I can't get out. There's no way to get out. The only way to get out is someone comes and rescues you. Sridhar Maharaj gave an example about Greek plays. There's some term for this, but and you see it, if you think of watch different dramas and so on, the hero is in a situation where there's no way out. And he's there on the stage with one sword, and there's 50 people there with spears coming towards him. There's no way out. So what did the playwrights in Greek times do? They'd lower someone from up above like a Greek god in a basket, and he'd save the day. There it is, yes. Yeah, okay. So that's all of a sudden, unexpectedly, from somewhere else, help comes. So that's what we're dependent on. That Krishna and Guru and the Vaishnavas help us, because it's us and the false ego, and if someone doesn't help us, who's going to win? False ego!
Yeah. Dharma.
Yes.
Can I recite a poem?
Please.
Okay, this is a verse. Manasida Pandidushte, Labdabatosmi Dushte, Timadagahana Rupe, Hanta, Sangsara Kupe, Ajadanakadadakshahe, Tamundara Dakshamupanayama Mahaste, Bhakti Rajum Namaste. Fallen in this deep and dark and dirty well of Maya, threatened by the snake of lust, whose venom burns like fire. Helplessly I pray, O Lord, whose strength is never in doubt, place the rope of bhakti in my hand and pull me out.
Haribol, sadhu. Okay. It's right on.
Thank you for the class. In the beginning, you gave example what we understand is we understand, we do it.
It's a sign that we understood it.
Yes. And so we read about that I'm soul, but I can do it like soul because of I not understand. Yes.
Yes, that's a good point. There are some things that it's just not an intellectual understanding. We have to actually realize it. So it's much more deeper than just day-to-day activities. You're right.
And so it helps that when we will be reminded about soul, about position each other, or not.
Yeah, and that's why we're sitting in Bhagavatam class. That's where we have all of our devotional activities all throughout the day to remind us what path we're on. It's just like someone is very, very ill. You've been given a diagnosis. What kind of disease would you like? Just name one. Tuberculosis. something curable though. But let's say you have something very, very serious, and the doctor says it could be 6 months. So every day for 6 months, you are taking your medicine and being very, very careful, and gradually, you will get better. So that's what can you do, because it's a long-term illness. So in the same way, we've got a long-term illness. We've been in the material world a long time, big false ego and multiple, whatever. So every day, a little bit, we just got to keep taking the medicine of the holy name and prasadam and devotee association.
But I speak about myself. That, for example, on Bhagavatam, on morning program, I convinced to do it. But they goes and false ego speaks another things. And so if we will remind it more often than only morning program, it will be work or no? I understand that is long. It is like try to start fire and take water. This is the same, very, very practical example, but how understand, I do it long time. And so question, maybe this is very deep question, because of this, many souls, they start this practice and some, can't can't accept it serious. For example, the same thing that everyone knows that he will die, but not remembering it at every moment of our life, because of if we we remember that I will die, for example, like Maharaja Parikshit, 7 days, and he was very serious. He did not accept anything, only hearing this message. And in the same way, if we accept it so serious, we can be free from this everything, this Maya, like very fast. But our not serious, and so we try to continue enjoy this Maya.
I would just add that a little bit of advice is the safest course of action is to keep ourselves always in the association of more advanced devotees. That will always protect us and help us and enliven us, enthuse us. Just always, throughout the day, you always have good association. And if you're always feeling a little bit, go find a Mogalila who'll give you some service. Give you his jolly association. Just like Balaram Prabhu is just traveling. Sannyasi, like that, alive in association with sannyasis and preaching and so on. So that's key. If we're not always trying to associate with more advanced devotees and stay in their association, because it's automatically become engaged and enlivened, like that. Yes. So maybe next week I'll read a little bit from this. No, because it's already 8:35. Unless you're expecting breakfast in a half hour or something. How long does it take them to cook?
He's usually timely.
So I should stop. Right? I'm just saying, you have a question. I'll read this. This is like 10 minutes of reading. I'll do it next week. Go ahead.
I just wanted to know, how does Krishna protect his devotees from becoming ghosts? Like, is that possible if a devotee doesn't perfect his life and still has some attachment to his residence or something? Do they become also a ghost, or? Yeah.
Would someone else like to answer that question? Krishna is always protecting his devotees. That's one thing. Krishna is always giving us, he's always very, very kind. Even though we may deserve something, Krishna may overlook that. But he's always doing what's best for our Krishna consciousness. So I would say even if becoming a ghost was the best thing for us, Krishna would let us become a ghost. You know, if it had to happen, you know. So whether we're a ghost, or how about this question? Will Krishna protect me from going to the heavenly planets? Because if I go to heavenly planets, I'm going to get a lot of Maya. So the point is, Krishna's protection is always there, and he's always helping his devotee as best as he possibly can to help us in our advancement. So whether it's protecting us from this or protecting us from that, Krishna's protection is there. But also there is the point where the living entities does something very grievous. Is that the word? Grievous. And, you know, Krishna's going to say, well, you know, I think you need a little tough love here. So that happens. You know, the devotee may be very stubborn. No, no, Krishna, I want this, 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 I want this. Krishna says, you sure? I want this. Okay, here you go. You're not going to be happy, but you are very stubborn about this, so okay. And then we'll revisit this after you learn a few lessons, because right now you learn in two ways, by hearing and by bitter experience. So we don't want to hear Shastra, then we get Shastra. So, I mean, because I've never read something about Srila Prabhupada says, Krishna protects the devotee from becoming a ghost.
I have a comment on this one.
Oh, good. You've read something.
Hare Krishna, please accept my base. Yeah, if you look up ghost proof in the Veda base IO, I think you'll find a conversation or letter where Prabhupada says, Srila Prabhupada says, devotees are ghost proof. It's also, I think Rupa Goswami mentions that one of the first installments of the mercy of the holy name is you become free from fear. So non-devotees are terrified by ghosts. Devotees may be attacked by ghosts, but it's like this attack of mosquitoes. It's not, doesn't induce any fear at all. It's just an annoyance. So I hope.
No, yeah, as far as attacked by ghosts, but his question is, he's wondering if Krishna will protect me from becoming a ghost. I don't know if he's making plans or concerned about his previous activities.
If you give up intoxication and you use your human life properly, you can't become a ghost. The ghost is a punishment for misusing the human form.
Yeah, so. But we always have to be very careful not to take advantage of Krishna's mercy and kindness. Like that. So should we end here? We can end here, right? All glories to Srila Prabhupada, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.